Jake?
Getting married on Sunday.
So I don't have to wear a tie today, huh? Oh.
Wear one Sunday.
Morning, everyone. Republicans continue to focus on creating jobs and improving our economy, the priorities of the American people. Today, the Ways and Means Committee will consider Congresswoman Jenkins' bill to strengthen college savings accounts. The president tried to tax these accounts, but we're working to expand them, which means more savings and less debt for our students. And I think you can expect this bipartisan bill on the floor very soon. Yesterday, the House acted in a bipartisan way to approve the Keystone Pipeline. This will create tens of thousands of jobs, or at least 42,000, according to the president's own State Department. More than 20 of our nation's governors this morning sent a letter to the White House asking the president to consider signing this important bill. There is no good reason, none whatsoever, for the president to veto this jobs bill. When it comes to funding the Department of Homeland Security, there's no dispute amongst Republicans. House Republicans and Senate Republicans all agree, and frankly, Senate Democrats should stop blocking debate on the House-passed bill. That's the thing. The Senate Democrats don't like our plan. But thanks to Senator McConnell, they can now offer amendments in the Senate, something they weren't able to do in the last Congress. But for Senate Democrats to simply block debate on a bill that funds many of their own priorities is as senseless and undemocratic as it is. If funding for Homeland Security lapses, Washington Democrats are going to bear the responsibility. Earlier this week, the president criticized the inappropriate use of the filibuster. Well, I don't think we need any more lectures. What we need to do is he needs to pick up the phone and call his own party to tell them to move ahead. For the past year, I've been urging the president to outline a strategy to defeat and destroy our terrorist enemies. And to its credit, the White House did the right thing and submitted language yesterday authorizing the use of military force against ISIL. That said, I do have concerns about the president's submission. I want to give our military commanders the flexibility and the authority that they need to defeat our enemies. And the White House readily admits that the authorization that they're seeking is more restrictive than what they already have in place. If we're going to defeat our enemy and win this fight, we need a strong, robust strategy and a strong, robust authorization. And that's exactly what Republicans will make the case for as we move through rigorous hearings and oversight on this issue.
Mr. Speaker, you said at one point a few weeks ago that the government, the Homeland Security Department would not shut down. You offered your assurances that that would not happen. Can you still offer those assurances today, or is that a possibility?
The House has done its job. We've passed a bill that funds the department and stops the president's unilateral actions with regard to immigration. It's up to Senate Democrats now to do their job.
So it's possible it'll shut down?
The House Republicans have passed a bill, and we've done our job. I can get that little booklet out of the gift shop, and you can all read it. All right? The House passes a bill, and the Senate has to pass a bill. Senate Democrats are blocking debate on the bill.
Is it problematic if Homeland Security personnel aren't paid and are putting their lives on the line to protect people like you and President Obama?
Well, it'd be bad. That's why the House passed a bill to fund the department.
So are you okay with funding lapsing? There's a lot of people in your conference that say it's okay because there's essential personnel.
No. We did our job to fund the department. It's up to Senate Democrats to do what they have to do, and that's to help pass a bill.
Why does this immigration language have to be part of the DHS funding bill? If Republicans believe that on principle, they also have Democrats who agree with them, why not heed the calls of these Democrats and have that as a separate debate?
They can offer amendments in the Senate if they get on the bill. They can make the changes. Their body can do whatever their body has to do. The House has done its job. We've spoken. And now it's up to the Senate to do their job, and we can meet in conference, try to work out the differences.
You talked about giving commanders in the field enough flexibility here. We've had a problem that's erupted in the past couple of days in Yemen Do you think that that speaks to the administration policy? And back to the first part of my question, do you think that that reflects the issue of giving people enough agility in the field, but in this AUMF, shouldn't the president have to say, look, if we're going to go completely to another part of the world to fight, these types of fighters, shouldn't the president have to be in charge of that and not the commanders in the field when you're dealing with a completely different theater?
As you've heard me say from this podium for the last several years, the president needs to have an overarching strategy to deal with this growing terrorist threat. He has yet to do that. He continues to look at this as a counterterrorism effort, when in fact, there's a war underway, and we're in the midst of it. But the president has tied his own hands and wants to tie his hands even further with the authorization that he sent up here. I think it's time for the White House to develop an outline for the American people how we're going to address this worldwide terrorist threat and to make sure that the president has the authorization to deal with it.
And should it talk about places like Yemen? Should it be that concrete, that specific?
I think the president should have the flexibility to fight this war wherever it is. As simple as that. Listen, I've been involved in these debates over the authorization of the use of military force since my first week in this Congress some 25 years ago, when George Herbert Walker Bush asked the Congress to support his effort to drive Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait. And I've been involved in dozens of these debates ever since. And I do believe that the commander-in-chief is the commander-in-chief and ought to have the wherewithal to go fight the enemy. And the president ought to have that wherewithal with regard to this fight.
That being said, it sounds like you do have a big difference than the president when it comes to the AUMF. Are you convinced it gets done? Are you convinced you could bridge those differences?
We're going to go through a rigorous set of hearings and oversight and try to develop an AUMF that fits the battle that we're in the midst of.
You think it'll pass this Congress? Are you convinced that it'll pass this Congress?
Let's take it one day at a time.
Mr. Speaker, in light of the terror threat that's out there, is a short-term CR a possible solution to avoid a funding gap if we're heading towards the end of the month?
I want to start laughing. The House has passed its bill. We funded the Department of Homeland Security, and we stopped the president with regard to his executive actions. It's real clear. It's time for Senate Democrats to get into the game, get on the bill, and if they don't like what we've done, then they can amend it. Simple as that. Thanks. Oh. And happy Valentine's Day to all of you. Good luck to you, Junior.